Our apartment wasn't much, just a modest two-bedroom with creaky floors and chipped paint in the corners, but it felt like home. Or at least, it did. The kind of place you filled with inside jokes and burnt popcorn smells and late-night conversations that meandered into silence. We'd moved in together 6 months ago, though Lisa and I had been dating for over 2 years before that. I thought we knew each other inside out. She always said I was steady, and maybe that was true. I wasn't flashy. I wasn't reckless. I was the guy who remembered to restock the coffee filters, who paid bills on time, who never raised his voice even when I probably should have. In return, I got a kind of quiet life with her. Sunday morning pancakes. Movie nights curled under the same blanket. Familiar routines that felt like comfort. But over the past few weeks, something had shifted. It was subtle at first. She started sleeping with her phone face down. Texts came in late at night, and she'd silence them quickly. Her laughter didn't come as freely, and when it did, it wasn't usually with me. The intimacy, those little glances, those unconscious brushes of skin, faded like the ending of a song. I noticed she'd bring up her ex, Jordan, now and then. At first in passing, Jordan always liked that place too, or Jordan and I used to do that hike. I chalked it up to nostalgia. We all have history, but something about the frequency, the casual ease with which she mentioned him, didn't sit right. Then, that morning, she stood by the window, cradling her coffee like it was a shield. She wasn't looking at me when she said, "So, hey, you're probably going to think this is weird." My stomach tightened, though I smiled. That's the thing about storms, they don't always arrive with thunder. Sometimes they whisper first, and when they do, you don't even realize you've already stepped outside without an umbrella. Lisa waited until the end of breakfast to say it. The plate between us still held the remnants of scrambled eggs, hers barely touched. She was staring at the salt shaker like it had the answers to a test she wasn't ready to take. Then she looked up, her eyes landing on me, but not quite meeting mine. "I need to tell you something." That line alone was enough to make my spine straighten. There was a hesitation in her voice, something rehearsed and reluctant at once. I stayed quiet, fork in hand, a piece of toast halfway to my mouth. She inhaled deeply. "Jordan's going to be staying with us, just for a few weeks. He's going through a rough patch, and he needs a place to crash, just until he gets on his feet." The room didn't spin. It didn't explode. It just stopped, like someone hit pause and let my thoughts echo off the stillness. Jordan, her ex, the one she said she hadn't seen in over a year, the one she swore was just a chapter closed. Now he was going to be sleeping under the same roof. My mind raced. Was this a joke? A test? Had I missed something so obvious? But instead of reacting, I blinked. Once, twice, and then I smiled. She rushed to fill the silence. "Look, we're adults. You know there's nothing there anymore. He just needs a place. It's temporary. You don't have to worry." And then came the words that turned her request into something else entirely. "Accept it. Not, is that okay with you? Not, can we talk about it? Just accept it." Like my discomfort was an afterthought. Like I had no say. In that moment, I saw it clearly. Not just the decision she had made, but the way she'd framed it. This wasn't a discussion. It was a boundary being drawn, not for clarity, but for control. I set my fork down gently, wiped my mouth with a napkin, and met her eyes. My heartbeat was calm, but my mind was loud. "Okay," I said, with a smile that didn't reach my eyes. "Let's see how it goes." She relaxed. Thought she'd won something. But in my head, a quiet line had been drawn. The tone of our relationship had shifted. The air felt heavier, the walls closer. This wasn't about Jordan anymore. This was about respect, or the lack of it. And I already knew nothing would be the same again. Sometimes silence says more than shouting ever could. That became my mantra. While everything around me shifted, I chose stillness. Not out of weakness, but calculation. I wasn't going to plead for respect I should have already had. Jordan arrived with a worn-out duffel bag and a grin like he belonged. He hugged Lisa a second too long, called her lease, like no time had passed, and strolled through our apartment like he'd built the damn place. Within an hour, his shoes were by the door, his charger plugged into our kitchen outlet, his laughter echoing in our living room. I didn't flinch. I welcomed him with a smile that said, "I see you," but not much else. He was charming, sure. Friendly in that overly casual way that made it hard to call him out without sounding petty. He left the bathroom door open when he brushed his teeth. Walked around shirtless like this was a beach house, not a shared apartment. Left empty cups in the sink and never once offered to clean up. Lisa didn't mind. In fact, she laughed more those first few days than she had in weeks. But not with me. She grew edgy, defensive. When I asked if she wanted to watch our usual Friday night movie, she said she was tired, then went out 20 minutes later for a quick walk that took 2 hours. Her phone never left her hand. Her gaze never fully met mine. I didn't need a confrontation to see the writing on the wall. I said nothing. I watched, cataloged every moment in the back of my mind, every shared look, every inside joke I wasn't part of. I became an observer in my own home. But I wasn't passive. I was waiting. Because sometimes, the best response to a betrayal isn't rage or desperation. It's quiet clarity. The kind that settles deep and waits for the right moment to rise. Jealousy, humiliation, suspicion. Those emotions became my daily companions. Not because I didn't trust Lisa, but because the situation begged not to be trusted. No matter how calm I remained on the outside, inside I was unraveling by degrees. Jordan made himself comfortable far too quickly. He started helping himself to leftovers in the fridge without asking, leaving greasy plates in the sink like we had a maid. One afternoon, I came home to find him lounging on our couch, feet up, wearing my hoodie. When I said nothing, he just grinned and said, "Hope you don't mind, man. It's so soft." I smiled, bit my tongue, walked into my room, shut the door. He accidentally walked into that room a few nights later. I was reading in bed when the door creaked open, and he stepped in halfway before stopping. "Oh, sorry, bro, thought this was the bathroom." The bathroom was on the opposite side of the hallway. Still, I just nodded. "No problem." Lisa acted like nothing was wrong. She insisted everything was normal, that I was imagining things. When I asked her why Jordan had to stay in our home when we had friends with couches, or he could have gotten a cheap motel, she waved it off. "You're being paranoid," she said one night, her arms crossed, tone clipped. "You always do this. Make a big deal out of nothing." That line hit harder than she knew. Always do this. As if I'd done this before. As if asking for basic respect was some kind of habit I needed to break. Jordan didn't help. Every chance he got, he reminisced about their past. "Remember that road trip to Big Sur, lease?" he said over dinner. "You made those awful sandwiches, and we got food poisoning. Good times." She laughed. I didn't. "Back when we used to live together," he said another time, glancing at me with a smug little smirk. "Man, we were a mess, huh? It was deliberate. All of it. Tiny needles meant to prick just enough without drawing blood." And still, I said nothing. At night, I started writing things down, just to make sense of them. In a plain black journal I kept in my sock drawer, I wrote, "This house isn't mine anymore. I just live in it. They talk like I'm not there. It's like I'm watching a play, and I already know how it ends." Politeness became my armor. Distance, my strategy. I let them believe I was clueless, weak, defeated. But every moment I stayed silent was a brick in the wall I was building, one that would eventually stand between me and all of this. Because even when you're surrounded, sometimes the quietest person in the room is the one already halfway out the door. It happened on a Tuesday night, quiet and unassuming like most betrayals are. Lisa had left her phone on the kitchen counter while she showered, and I was grabbing a glass of water when the screen lit up. "Missed last night already," winky face. No name. Just those 6 words. I didn't touch the phone. Didn't need to. The truth didn't require further evidence. The tone, the timing, the subtext, it all painted a picture I could no longer pretend didn't exist. My throat went dry. Not from shock, but clarity. It wasn't just about Jordan living here anymore. It wasn't just about boundaries being crossed or my space being invaded. This was betrayal, plain and sharp. The kind that doesn't shout. It whispers, slowly eating away at the foundation of everything you thought you were building together. I stood in the bathroom later that night, staring at myself in the mirror. My reflection looked tired. Not just physically, but soul-tired. Worn down from trying to be the rational one, the understanding partner, the man who kept the peace even as his world was coming apart. Why am I still here? What am I holding on to? And then I remembered. The flashbacks hit like gut punches. Lisa laughing at my concerns. "You're overthinking. Don't be so sensitive." The way she used to brush off my questions with sarcasm. "Are you really jealous of my past? Grow up." I thought love was about patience. I thought being steady and supportive would earn respect. But love without respect is a prison, and I'd been serving a sentence I hadn't even realized I'd accepted. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I detached. Something inside me shifted. I stopped thinking like a boyfriend desperate to fix something, and started thinking like a man who was done being played. I became the observer again, but this time, not because I was powerless. This time, I had a plan. Because when you realize someone's willing to lie with a smile on their face and expect you to sleep beside them like nothing happened, you stop asking why they did it. You start asking what you're going to do next. I didn't confront her. I didn't storm out or cause a scene. That would have given her the drama she likely expected, maybe even wanted. Instead, I did what most people never see coming. I got quiet, intentional, focused. Each morning, I slipped a few things into a small duffel bag I kept hidden in the trunk of my car. Spare clothes, a charger, my passport. Important documents disappeared from the shared file drawer one by one and found a new home in a locked box at a friend's place. I opened a private bank account, began moving small sums. Never enough to raise suspicion, just enough to rebuild freedom. I started looking at studio apartments on my lunch break. Messaged a former co-worker who'd mentioned a vacancy in his building. Visited once. Signed a lease 2 days later. Quietly. Efficiently. Back home, I played my role to perfection. I smiled more than usual. Asked Lisa how her day went. Even brought home her favorite wine one evening. Jordan and I joked over pizza one night. He thought we were becoming friends. I became unreadable. And that's how I knew I had the power back. They thought I'd accepted it. That I was weak. That I'd folded into submission. But they didn't see the difference in my smile. It wasn't warmth. It was strategy. The final straw didn't come like an explosion. It came on a Wednesday night, subtle as a crack spreading through glass. I was walking down the hallway toward my room when I passed Lisa's door, our former room. I heard laughter. Hers and Jordan's. Light, easy, familiar. Then the unmistakable sound of the door locking. No explanation. No illusion left. I didn't hesitate. I walked to the kitchen, grabbed the note I'd written days earlier, and placed it gently on the coffee table. It read, "Thanks for reminding me what self-respect feels like." I didn't pack another bag. I didn't need to. Everything that mattered was already gone, with me. My dignity, my peace, my silence. And with that, I walked out. No goodbye, no argument. Just the quiet click of a door closing, for good. The apartment was silent, the kind of silence that feels like a clean break. Lisa and Jordan had left earlier that morning. Some errand or brunch plan, I didn't care to ask. Their laughter had trailed out the door like smoke, fading before it reached me. It was the moment I'd been waiting for. I moved with calm precision. My duffel bag, already packed, rested by the door. I walked the place one last time. Not to say goodbye, but to be sure I felt nothing. And I didn't. Just relief. On the kitchen table, I placed the house key and the folded note I'd written the night before. The one that didn't beg for closure or understanding. Thanks for reminding me what self-respect feels like. It said everything. Before I left, I turned to the shelf by the hallway, the one with our shared memories. I reached for the photo frame of the two of us at the lake, the day she said she'd never hurt me. I removed the picture, folded it once, and tucked it into the trash bin. The frame, still standing, was now empty. A quiet kind of symbolism. A memory, discarded. I stepped outside and pulled the door shut behind me, feeling no temptation to look back. At the curb, I took out my phone and blocked Lisa. Then Jordan. On everything. No more texts. No wait, let's talk. No digital threads to tug on. This was the turning point. As I walked toward my car, sunlight breaking gently through the morning haze, I let the final thought settle. Sometimes, walking away isn't giving up. It's choosing peace. And for the first time in weeks, I felt free. A few weeks later, the air in my new apartment felt different, lighter, cleaner. It wasn't just the space or the silence. It was the absence of tension, of walking on eggshells in my own home. I woke up earlier now, cooked for myself, read books I'd put off, laughed at dumb shows without worrying if someone was judging me for it. I was happier, healthier, whole. One afternoon, as sunlight streamed through the blinds, my phone buzzed. "Lisa, can we talk?" I didn't open it. Didn't need to. Whatever she had to say came far too late. I stared at the message for a second, then deleted it. No anger. No regret. Just closure. I stood by the window, sipping coffee, and smiled, genuinely this time. Not the tight-lipped mask I wore when I was trying to survive under someone else's rules, but the kind of smile that comes from knowing you've reclaimed your dignity. When she said accept it, I did, but not the way she thought. And with that, I turned my phone face down, leaned back, and let peace fill the space where chaos used to live.